Time to start. This was a good week, all things considered. Ninninger 27 was focused around Kinji and resolving his whole thing with the N Shuriken and the yokai that killed his family. And of course, it was the wolf yokai of the three great Western yokai, and he pretty much gets closure on it more or less this week by not exactly saying it's not about revenge, because, he wasn't exactly seeking out this creature in specific. He was just searching for a way to improve himself. So it wasn't like revenge was the only thing on his mind. I mean, he was looking for options, and, the strongest ninja in the world might gives him some assistance in that. So, it's like, what's the phrase? It's like, you do all this other stuff to get this prize, but then you see it's handed right before you, and what do? Are you going to continue going through all the hard work that you put up all this right now, or do you give yourself a shortcut? Do you abandon your beliefs with the principle of what you wanted just to achieve this end goal? And, looking back on Kinji's episodes before that and his whole story arc of, having this ulterior motive to wanting to be Yoshitaka's student, it more or less works, and this is kind of the, but a key piece to this character arc of his in, I wouldn't say joining the team, but getting over a facet that's left him self-focused that Yoshitaka's been picking up on. That's not exactly the best way to describe it, but it's what I'm coming up with at the moment. Because he had two goals. One, get strong enough to be able to challenge and defeat the Wolf Yokai, achieve this episode, and two, resurrect his family. But at least when he knew about the Catch-22 of the N Shuriken and that it destroyed the world to create the one you want, he kind of more or less gave up on that. And so, Yoshitaka's not had as much of an excuse to being a jackass about it. But he was picking up on Kinji's reluctance to really, commit to protecting people, as is the Shinobi Mandate. And that's not the Shinobi Mandate. Shinobi are assassins. It's like revisionist history in that, they served someone and protected people, but they did it by killing people, or at least being subversive, being espionage experts. It's like, it's still dirty work, but it's contextually not consistent. Then again, ninjas are whatever the fuck you want them to be, considering they're more or less a fictional creation based on myth, not exactly mythology, but lore about, okay, let me rephrase. The modern depiction of ninjas is a fiction. What they're based on is greatly exaggerated due to just simply the period where all that took place. So, you can't exactly say what a ninja is and what a ninja isn't with absolute certainty. It might be protecting people. It might just be doing the dirty work of an assassin. It's another reason I don't like Naruto. It glorifies a profession that is all about killing people by having the person that's taking the ninja's journey absolutely atrocious at actually being a ninja. And he's atrocious at being everything else, but, it'd make more sense for, all this derision of the ninja way to come from someone that's good at this and, finds a better way beyond the ninja training. That would have actually worked better for Naruto's overarching story. Dear God, I am glad Naruto is over. Anyways. So yeah, the wolf yokai kicks his ass, at least in the early part of the episode, because apparently it can't be killed by anything that is not a werewolf. Or at least a yokai. Something of the, general species of it. And this might actually be a plot point to something that's going on with the rest of it, but that seems odd because I don't remember many werewolf stories where that's a thing. Usually it's like silver and killing the human form. And admittedly, the human form thing wouldn't work. The silver thing, it was wearing silver armor. Silver isn't the color, not necessarily the metal, but it's like, this is a kind of, I'm blanking on the movie that did this, because I know there is a movie that did this kind of thing. I think it might have been Van Helsing, the one with Hugh Jackman, where you could only kill Dracula by killing him as a werewolf because of some X and X, and Dracula had enslaved every werewolf, or the only existing werewolf, or something. I don't know. I haven't seen that movie in a while. So I know it's a thing, but you usually don't expect it to be a thing. It does, however, serve the story, so I give it a buy. As Kinji needs to, decide if he wants to kill this thing to get revenge for his family, or if, in lieu of that, stop it from ever hurting anyone again, which is a better context considering his actions. It's, lost my train of thought. Izayoi comes to him and offers to give him the same power that Izayoi has. Infuse him with the yokai, which totally finally explains why Izayoi, despite apparently being a previous student, looks like a yokai now. So far we thought that Izayoi had always been a yokai and just gone under training by Yoshitaka because she, we're not sure on the gender term there, was benign, or there's a thing about yokai coexisting with humanity, and people like Kinji only go after the ones that actually go out and attack people and gather all this fear. And no, they were actually human and then fused themselves with a yokai entity, which is revealed when Izayoi tries to force this on Kinji, after tempting him with the power to stop the werewolf after Yoshitaka throws him out. Now, Yoshitaka throwing him out is a very bad decision, as it makes him desperate. It could have, done what he was actually trying to prevent, because Yoshitaka saw both. Well, actually, he didn't see himself, but he saw Izayoi in him. So, by being distant and derogatory, he was actually working to cause the kind of repeats in events that he was. Let me rephrase. He was about to cause what he didn't. No. He was going to make. His actions were about to make a second Izayoi, when the actions he was taking was so that he would not have another Izayoi as a student. End up being a student. If that makes. It's been a long day. So yeah, I hate it when that comes up, because, usually when you make a mistake like that, when you turn a previous student of yours into a supervillain, yeah, you make damn sure that, 1, you don't take another student like that. 2, any prospective students, explain yourself about this. And 3, you figure out what you did wrong and correct that mistake. So instead, by Yoshitaka repeatedly alienating him, he almost did that again. And the only reason he did not was due to the bonds Kinji has forged with the rest of the Igasaki clan. Takaharu and everybody else went to fight the werewolf. He heard their cries of battle and knew he needed to be there with them, since since they were doing badly against the yokai, and that's apparently what got him over this hurdle, and along with some words from the family about Yoshitaka, well, what I just said about Yoshitaka being afraid and not actually fixing the mistake, yeah, Kinji goes Chozetsu, which honestly doesn't look bad, and if that's how they're going to do the armor, in that it's just overlaid over the undersuit, yeah, that makes perfect sense for how they'll make it into anyone can eventually use it armor, even if Aka Ninja uses it the most. It didn't look bad at all. However, during the battle, we see a inside glimpse inside Kinji's helmet of his eyes going purple. Now, this usually means that he's possessed by some darkness, or darkness possessed by some evil force. Why does purple get that jipping elements to it? There's a possible explanation for this, and then it can go two ways. One, Izayoi attempted yokai fusion with him, infusing him with the essence of a yokai. He didn't allow the process to complete, but there's potentially some kind of virulent aftermath on the completed technique. Two, the werewolf yokai scratched him, and it left three big gaping claw marks on him. So it might have infected him with the werewolf yokai's power, and they'll come back to this at some point where that Kyo's possibly turning into a werewolf yokai himself. From the preview details, that's not going to be touched on next week, but it might be coming up eventually. Because next week, Ninninger is going to start an arc where Izayoi is bringing in yokai ninja, which honestly seems kind of interesting, considering, they'd be like beast form ninja, like more in depth with ninja techniques that are based off of animals. So, yeah, the show's improving. It's being character driven. It's still a bit too heavy on action scenes and not enough on character and, story pieces, kind of like paying only as much attention to them to serve the story and being abreast action, but it's getting better at it. Drive. This is pretty much precursor to Global Freeze at this point, as Bono's plans get underway when Brain decides to rejoin the fold and stop running. Now, he has a good reason for this. He's trying to free Medic. He got into her systems to find out what Bono had done to her and try and find a way to remove the malicious programming. While that is happening, Shinosuke gets Kiriko to a hospital and into recovery for her injuries, and yeah, he's pretty much more or less accepting that he has feelings for her, but with all the dangers of the global freeze, he can't exactly, get in a relationship with her. Chase is likewise confirming that Kiriko has feelings for Shinosuke, and specifically, he asks her about her feelings towards Shinosuke, and she reacts in a way that is parallel to Shinosuke's last week, in that they have the same type of stylized freakouts. Admittedly, Go has a pretty similar one himself, but not to the same degree, whereas Kiriko and Shinosuke's were matching up, and their kind of their refusals were in the same kind of half-hearted, calling out their flaws that actually complement each other's elements. That, yeah, it's my thing about relationships is you usually have to bring in something that helps make the other person better, and Kiriko and Shinosuke kind of have something between them. So, I'm on board with this, honestly, after seeing this bit and looking back at some of their previous incidents. It's admittedly not very well... It's been alluded to elements, but it's not been very well framed, considering they don't really focus on their interaction in just them, or at least have not in a long time, so we haven't seen a development of their relationship towards this final element. But, we kind of wanted to see that happen. I wouldn't say see that happen, but when the whole Eiji Tamari surprise future spoilers started dropping, we figured that, yeah, it's probably going to be Kiriko that's his mother. And at least that they're not ignoring this part of it, in that they're trying to actually lay the groundwork for what would eventually develop into a romantic relation. Well, okay, it's currently a potential romantic relationship, but I'm saying, them actual dating. It's progressing that way. And I like this simply because I like seeing people happy. I like good people seen in positive, constructive relationships. And it's not something Kamen Rider has really done with their protagonists, or at least not the central one, and have it a relationship that sticks. Usually it's the secondary riders that have the lasting relationship, and Kotaro Minami, Black and Black RX, had a relationship in Black RX that kind of got sidelined as Kyoko went from girlfriend to informant to assistant normal human, like, taking on the mooks so Black RX could focus on the main monster. So, Kuga no, Agito no, Ryuki God no, haven't seen all Fies, haven't seen all Blade. Yeah, it's usually the secondary riders that get the lasting relationship. So, for them to have it a mainline, for it to be more or less canon in the interpretation of events for the show, this is all good things in my mind. I just wish it had gotten a bit more of a focus on it instead of it, sidelined, alluded to, and then actually addressed. If that makes any sense. So, that's the B plot. But then swinging back to the A plot, Brain, as I said, surrenders to Bano's faction, so they have the 4 evolved roidmudes to cause the second global freeze. Bano, alongside Evil Krim, have produced this device called the Sigma Circular, which will absorb and regulate their core drive ears to create a balanced regulation of the global freeze effect through heavy acceleration. As they go to do this, everyone set out to try and find the location where it's going to be activated, and during this we see Captain Hongaji put on a mass production Mach driver Hono and use a device that's similar to a transformation key to transform into a mass production Mach Kamen Rider. And I say Mach Kamen Rider as in Kamen Rider Mach, mass production Mach. And he calls himself Kamen Rider Jun because Jun is his first name, Jun Hongaji. It's kind of a quirky, silly thing, but if this means that in the next few episodes we're going to actually see a mass production group of Kamen Riders assisting, fighting off roidmudes in the final few episodes, well, it's like we've got 2-3 episodes left before the show concludes, so it's kind of a bit too little too late for this kind of thing, unless it's supposed to be a one-off gag where they never actually make it into the show, which would be sad. Unless they're saving a more regular mass production grouping of it to show up in Drive versus Ghost at some point, which isn't certainly a possibility, but like the mages in Kamen Rider Wizard, I think they're coming in too late to really matter more than add another rider to the rider count. But as they prepare the global freeze, when they're infusing the energy into it, it creates a backlash where it absorbs too much energy, and to become stable, it needs to release it into a roidmude. Now, I have a problem with this in that if it's supposed to absorb all their power, shouldn't it just, shut off or give an indication that it's it's absorbed as much power as it needs, so it's not over capacity and needs to discharge it all. That seems kind of stupid onto a stupid design element. Then you'll learn Banno made it intentionally do that. It didn't need to do that, simply so he could send all that feedback energy into Medic to kill Medic, so none of the remaining roidmudes could be healed, revived, and restored. Banno could just eliminate them and have his global freeze world with no challengers. I think this is a bit convoluted, especially since the next tier of this is that Brain, from his analysis of Medic's hacked programming, realized what Banno was going to do, and then changed his own programming so he would absorb the programming from Medic and free her from it, but by proxy would cause all the feedback to run into him and kill him. Now I have one big issue with this. Brain could have undone the hacking on Medic before they even started infusing Banno's Sigma Circular. He would be out all of the Super Evolved Roidmude's powers, and he would not have the potential ability to create the Global Freeze. It would still be reliant on the Evolved Roidmudes to do it themselves, and thus keeping them as the focus villains instead of Banno coming in past the halfway point of the show and taking over the villain slots over time. Because then it still keeps, the Roid... Not just as the Roidmudes the villains, but it wouldn't have this subversion of expectations that happened recently. I mean, there's a bit of stuff with Heart, and him not being like other Roidmudes. There's been this thing with Chase, and him learning what it means to be human and a Roidmude. And I'm saying that there's not been enough justification to suddenly make all of the Roidmudes into misunderstood heroic characters simply because their creator was a monster. They've still done and perpetrated a lot of monstrous things, especially, the Freeze Roidmude, for example. In the name of self-preservation, yes, but it's like, it's forgetting that that these people did these things. They were completely fine in commingling with humanity, not serving them, and then, sudden revolution. There's got to be consequences to that revolution. They're likely all going to die, but it's no longer seen as it's framing it as a tragedy when these are still essentially bad people. They could have been better people, as Heart has shown that, this was in reaction to Banno's actions, but he still led the rebellion that has harmed a lot of people. So it's not exactly building the correct empathy with how it's not really developed through the consistency of the entire show. And I really blame the first 20 episodes for this because they sucked and they were not building towards this, which kind of only started appearing after Chase got beaten and freed from his programming. So yeah, the brain thing that I thought was definitely screwed up here. As instead, it could have been straight up outsmarting Banno in that they'll make and stop him from even getting their power by removing it from Medic right at the opportune moment when they would start absorbing that energy. They go against Banno immediately, and then Banno can reveal that he built in a backdoor program into all of the other Roidmudes with this in mind. Or not, since he knows all the backdoor stuff of the Roidmudes programming anyways, we've been shown throughout the show, he could have programmed the Sigma Circular if they were not going to give up their energy willingly. He would just have it drain them dry automatically. Hack them and root it all out, and then Brain would sacrifice himself to save Heart and Medic from this thing killing them through exhaustion. you get the same effect. You get the dramatic sacrifice by Brain dying for his friends slash family, because, the roidmudes are all family in Heart's eyes, but you don't get the stupid element of you're letting the villain win to achieve a secondary objective. Brain is smarter than that. Instead, it's, we outsmarted the villain for this minor victory. No, I had this plan instead in the case you decided to betray me. That shows them both as intelligent in playing the chess master game. That, Bono's insane, he's not an idiot. So, he would kind of have these contingencies in plan, especially since he's been manipulating the roidmudes for God knows how long, in most of the actions he's been executing throughout the series, or at least retconned to be possessing throughout the series. I hope you're getting where I'm coming from on this. So, same end effect, different way of bringing it about that makes everyone look better, is essentially. Garo. This is going to be another short recap because it's just getting Jinga out of Rian. They tell of this spring that is used as a mass purification of Makai artifacts to when, they go past the point where they can safely be purified by other means. And they think that they can get Jinga out of Rian using this to seal him away. And since Radam is linked to him with Jinga gone, they don't need to worry about Radam either until, they find it and seal it. There won't be as critical a need to hunt it down. They can, focus on other things. This, of course, goes foobar because, well, the spring to open it kind of draws in a lot of negative karma and, not exactly horrors, but lost spirits that, would be purified by the spring's power, but if they're purified by the spring's power, its power is sapped away from the goal they're trying to achieve. It won't work on Rian, it'll prioritize all these other things first. So they need to first open it using the two priests they have, the watchdog whose name I'm forgetting, and Gold. While Akazuki and Ryuga purify all the other spirits with their Makai, with their soul blades. Yeah, that's pretty much the episode, because the first 4 or so minutes was just rehashing the ending events of the last episode. I'm not even kidding. They must have ran short or something on the footage they had. There's actually no actual Garo transformation, no Makai Knight Armor transformation this episode either, which, okay, they were light on that last week too, so I'm betting they're saving their CGI budget since they blew it with the previous big battle with Jinga. And they're saving it because it's almost the end of the show. They're probably going to blow a bunch of it soon, so, this is keeping it pretty basic, all things considered, for Garo. So, they almost succeed, which seems to be this show's thing, in that, instead of, no, not instead of, the heroes are always one step short of winning, but it's Jinga and Amelie's actions that repeatedly screw them over. Not because the good guys are incompetent, but because the villains are just that powerful and competent. So as the ritual is about to be completed and Jinga is about to be sealed away, Amelie comes in because she used her blue butterflies to be attracted to the spring to, tell her where it was, and comes in, kisses Rian, Yeah, and thus, Jinga is drawn out of Rian and is reborn in Amelie's body, and retakes his normal form. Yeah, Masahiro Inoue is back, and he never really left. I was so mistaken when I thought they were just going to get rid of him in episode 18. No, now it's kind of weird, because it's like, Cinderella Boy. I can't believe I remember that show. Why do I remember that show? Cinderella Boy was an anime where a man and a woman are in an accident, and due to mad science, they now possess the same body, which is between their personas and normal physical forms at midnight. And I only saw the first episode like 15 years ago. My brain is a memory trap, and I feel it gives off the same kind of feeling. Granted, they're both horrors, so their disguised physical form doesn't so much matter as compared to the soul, but it's still kind of squicky, especially since they're lovers and yeah. Trying to think if I have anything else. Continuing to see the previous of Ghost, I'm kind of losing my interest in the driver of the year, as I don't like how it opens up to lock in the icons. I'm still interested in the icons. I still like Ghost's overall feel, especially with some of the additional preview details we've been getting in about the various jackets being sentient entities on top of the icons being sentient entities, and too many sentient artifacts. I know the Attack on Titan movie is coming to theaters if it's not already. It doesn't. It's not going to be in any theaters near me, so I'm not going to see it until it comes out on DVD. I am planning something for that, considering it was written by the same guy that wrote the Gotcha Man movie that was terrible. Yeah, that's all I got. So, I will see you all next week.